So sensitize all the stakeholders to the legal and institutional framework. The initiative that we have received, these initiatives have received a tremendous response. We have about 900 registrations for this webinar, which is unprecedented. In the last year, we have received about 300 registrations. But this time, we are getting 900 registrations. It includes 50 the total categories that all the categories of stakeholders are there in this webinar. 57% people are from the state government organizations, 15% are from the central government organizations, 6% are from PSU, 11% are from central PSU. There is a good representation from academic institutions like IIM and IITs, with 5% of the total 900 nominations from academic institutions. We also have nominations from private organizations and others. The webinar is structured in such a way that not only the participants will become aware of the provisions of the enactment, but they will also understand the implications of the various provisions and necessary action thereof. One of the most important aspects or prerequisite for implementation of the Dam Safety Act is to have necessary competencies and skills at various levels to fulfill the obligations given in the Act. The competency gaps can only be filled through continuous training and capacity building activities in respective areas. I am very much thankful to Chairman CWC, Shri Vohra sir, for sparing his valuable time to join the session and address the participants in this inaugural session. He is the inspiration and the prime mover behind all the activities of National Water Academy Pune. I also thank member T&R, Shri Sipal sir, and officers and staff of DSO, Dam Safety Organization of CWC, under the leadership of Shri Vijay Saran, who have supported this initiative of NWA. I also express my sincere thanks to all the expert faculty who have kindly consented to share their knowledge and experience through this webinar. I once again extend warm welcome to all the dignitaries and all the participants who have joined this webinar today. And I'm sure it would be a great learning and enriching experience for all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the welcome address. It's an honor and privilege to request our very respected Shri Kushvinder Vohra sir, Chairman Secretary Commission, and ex-officio Secretary to the Government of India, and also ex-officio Chairperson of the National Committee on Dam Safety, to inaugurate this very important webinar and kindly share pearls of wisdom with the august gathering of esteemed water sector professionals present for this webinar. A very warm welcome, sir. Please, you can initiate.
Very good morning to everyone. I'm delighted to be with all the esteemed participants in this 2 days webinar on legal and institutional framework for dam safety in India. Dams are critical infrastructure, as we all know, have been constructed with large public investment for multi-purpose use such as irrigation, power generation, flood moderation, and supply of most crucial water for drinking and also for industrial purposes. History of dam building in India has a long and glorious past. The dams in India have been in existence since age-old times. The Kalanai Grand Anicut Dam was built on the Kaveri River by king of the Chola dynasty around 2000 years ago. The dam is still functional and irrigates millions of acres of land. Similarly, 24-meter high earthen dam of Thanur tank in Karnataka is over thousands years old and is still in use. In the last 50 years, India has invested heavily in the dams and related infrastructure. At the time of independence, in 1947, there were more than 300 large dams in India, as per the records. After independence, in order to become self-sufficient in food production and economically self-reliant, a number of multi-purpose river valley projects were taken up, necessitating more number of large dams. As per the National Register for Large Dams, which was updated last in 2019, there are 5,334 completed and 411 under construction dams. The National Register is under rapid updation, and we have consulted with all the state governments. And while updating, we have noted that now there are more than 6,700 number of specified dams which have been reported by the state governments and other dam owning agencies. In addition to this, there are several thousand small dams in the country. After China and USA, as we all know, India ranks third globally in terms of the large dams. An unsafe dam constitutes a hazard to human life, ecology, public and private assets, including crops, houses, buildings, canal, roads. Therefore, the safety of the dam is a matter of great concern to the general public and become a national responsibility to take necessary steps to ensure the safety of the dams. Many of the dams are considerable old. About 80% of the India's dams are more than 25-year-old, and about 234 dams are more than 100 years of old and were built in an era when the design practices and safety considerations were inadequate as compared with the present design standards and prevailing safety norms. As we say, the age of the dam does not really, is a matter of concern, because an earthen dam, when it is built, it becomes part of the earth, and when the concrete dam it is built, it can be perpetually functioning if we are able to maintain it well, and if we have built it on the strong design practices and construction practices. On account of technical and deferred maintenance issues, many of actually these dams face varying degree of inadequacies in meeting the current standards of the dam health and safety. As per records maintained by Central Water Commission, India has so far encountered 41 large dam failures, beginning with Tigra Dam in 1917. The most recent case is of Annamaya Dam, Andhra Pradesh, in November 2021. The failure of Machu Dam 2 in Gujarat in 1979 has been India's worst disaster, with disaster consequence on the social and economic fabric of the affected Morbi town. Loss of lives as per the record was 2,000, and unrecorded could be many more times. Undoubtedly, in view of India's high population, which has doubled over the last 4 decades, a similar incident today would prove to be much more catastrophic. To safeguard these dams and bring uniform dam safety procedures across the country, the Dam Safety Act 2021 has been enacted by the Parliament in December 2021 after a sustained effort of about last 4 decades. And I'm sure this journey will be covered by one of our speakers when they talk about the things about it. The provision of dam safety has come into effect since 30th December 2021. The Act is aimed at ensuring surveillance, inspection, operation, and maintenance of specified dams for the prevention of dam failure related disasters. It provides for an institutional mechanism at both central and state level to address structural as well as non-structural measures required for ensuring the safe functioning of the dams. As per provisions of the Act, National Committee on Dam Safety has been constituted. National Committee on Dam Safety is entrusted with the responsibility for evolving nationwide dam safety policy standard regulation. NCDS is chaired by Chairman Central Water Commission, as has been told by my colleague, Mr. Chaskar, and it has representation of central government, state government, and independent experts. National Dam Safety Authority has also been established. It has to act as regulatory authority, which has been assigned roles related to implementation of pertinent policies, guidelines, and standards. As per the provision of the Act, all 28 states and 3 concerned union territories owning specified dams have constituted the State Committee on Dam Safety as well as State Dam Safety Organization. SCDS shall mainly supervise the State Dam Safety Organization functions and the State Dam Rehabilitation programs, and also shall review the progress on measures recommended for the dam safety in the state. SDSO shall keep perpetual surveillance, carry out inspections, monitor the operation and maintenance of all specified dams falling under their jurisdiction to ensure the continued safety of such specified dams and take such measures as may be necessary to address safety concerns for each specified dam. The dam owner shall, within the operation and maintenance establishment, provide a dam safety unit consisting of such competent level of engineers. The Act has an obligation upon every owner of the specified dam to carry out pre-monsoon and post-monsoon inspections, comprehensive dam safety evaluation, risk assessment studies, preparation of O&M manuals, preparation of emergency action plans, maintaining technical documentation, and installation of minimum number of instruments, etc., as specified by the National Committee on the Dam Safety. As on 27/2023, SDSOs have reported that in pre-monsoon 2023 alone, 5,883 number of dams have been inspected, which was of the order of 1,200 only during the previous times, both for pre as well as post-monsoon inspections. This really shows that our mechanism in the states are gearing up and more importance is being provided to this particular subject. To sensitize all the center and state governments, CPSUs, local authorities, and other dam owning agencies that control, operate, and maintain specified dam, a national workshop, as my colleague has also mentioned, on the Dam Safety Act 2021 was organized during June 2022 by CWC and Ministry. Last year, NDSA has also organized number of meetings come workshop in all 4 regions in the country, wherein officers from state and central state PSUs in respect of region participated in the meetings. Memorandum of Understanding has been signed between NDSA and Malviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur, for establishment of National Center for Earthquake Safety of the Dams. The proposed National Center will coordinate and work with all available domain experts in IITs, NITs, and leading academic and research institutes in India, and also with the domain experts across the world. Under DRIP Phase 1, Phase 2 and 3, Memorandum of Agreement has been signed between Central Water Commission and IIT Roorkee for establishment of International Center of Excellence for Dam Safety at IIT Roorkee. The Center of Excellence will focus on the 2 focus areas, namely reservoir sedimentation and seismic hazard mapping. These are very crucial 2 areas where we have to look when we talk about the life, active life of economic life of the dam, as well as the safety in terms of the structure. Proposal for establishment of Center of Excellence for Dam Safety at ICID Bangalore is under advanced stage of finalization. Capacity building proposals of National Water Academy, CWPRS, CSMRS, NIT Rourkela are also under consideration. A training program on dam safety aspects was conducted by NWA for the officers of Gujarat, as mentioned by Mr. Chaskar, during May 2023. Similar trainings for other states have also been planned. Training of dam break analysis, preparation of inundation maps, emergency action plan, flood routing, freeboard calculation, etc. has also been provided to the UP government officials during May 23 and June 23, as has also been mentioned by Mr. Chaskar. CWC is regularly organizing online trainings regarding dam health and rehabilitation monitoring application, Dharma. And this has been done for many officials of all the states. In this regard, physical training for Maharashtra, as has been mentioned by Mr. Chaskar, was also held during January 2023 at Nasik. Further, in order to assist the state governments and other dam owning agencies, a help desk shall be put in place in respect of Dharma. The effective implementation of the Dam Safety Act 2021 will not only ensure the long-term safety of these critical infrastructure using procedures and latest state-of-art techniques, but also secure the safety of the people living downstream of these dams. Accordingly, we have discussed a lot with NWA Pune and we have finalized the act must be disseminated and brought to the knowledge of the dam owning authority, water resources professionals, academicians, and other stakeholders on the sustained basis so that we are able to handle the issue more effectively and contribute in this national building endeavor. I'm very sure that eminent speakers of this webinar are all very renowned experts with a decade of experience behind them, and they have already contributed a lot in all of these aspects. And I am sure that there will be very rich deliberation during the 2 days, and we will be coming across many other things where we might be focusing in the near future. So I'm sure this webinar will serve the intended purpose with active participation by all of you. I wish success to this webinar, which will be very stimulating, I'm very sure. Thank you and all the best. Jai Hind.
Thank you for gracing the occasion and for putting the essence of this webinar on record beautifully and sharing your thoughts on the subject. Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time to inaugurate this webinar. And thank you, sir. So still you managed to attend to inaugurate this webinar. Thank you, sir, very much.
Login hawala.
Sweta, please mute yourself, Sweta.
Now we have the very first session on dam safety aspect, Dam Safety Act 2021 and DRIP by Shri Vijay Saran, Chief Engineer Dam Safety Organization and Project Director DRIP 2 and 3. But before that, before I invite him for the session, I would briefly mention about him. Shri Vijay Saran, sir, Chief Engineer Dam Safety Organization, Central Water Commission and Project Director DRIP, has 33 years of experience in the Government of India at Ministry of Jal Shakti and Central Water Commission. The responsibilities handled are appraisal of DPR of water resources projects, release of central assistance to states for CAD-WM projects, PMKSY, planning and design of water resources projects, planning and design of hydropower projects, planning and design of barrages, numerical modeling and simulation of behavior of rock slopes and underground caverns, preparation of DPRs of the water resources projects, hydrological observation and flood forecasting, implementation of World Bank funded projects and procurement as per World Bank guidelines. He has published a number of papers in various international conferences on numerical analysis of underground works, planning and design of anti-erosion works, and on topics related to water resource development. He is fellow Indian Water Resources Society since April 2012. He is member International Society of Rock Mechanics, ISRN, India. He is honorary secretary, Indian Society for Rock Mechanics and Tunneling Technology. He had earlier worked in Larsen and Toubro Limited for about 3 years, was involved in construction of cross-country conveyor gallery at Paradip, was later involved in construction of coal handling plant of Tenugan plant. His specialties are planning and design of water resources projects, planning and design of hydropower projects, barrages, anti-erosion works, three-dimensional numerical analysis of underground works, design of powerhouse caverns and other underground works, hydrological information system, analysis, storage and retrieval of hydrological data, design of hydrological observation network of a basin, World Bank procurement procedures and implementation of World Bank funded projects. I welcome Shri Vijay Saran, sir, Chief Engineer, Dam Safety Organization, to initiate his session, sir.
There is one small announcement before Saran Saab starts his lecture. I request all the participants to mute their microphones, please. because we can hear a lot of noise when your microphone is on. And secondly, during the session, you might be having many doubts or queries. There is a chat window. You can put your queries or doubts or questions in the chat window so that our faculty can read it and answer it at the end of it, at the end of the session, please. So now I request Saran Saab to take over.
A very good morning to all of you, and thank you, Mr. Chaskar and Mr. Pandya, for giving my brief introduction. So, as we all know, I welcome you all to this webinar, and I will be going through the various provisions of the Dam Safety Act and how these provisions are to be implemented, what are the training needs and capacities required to implement these provisions of the Dam Safety Act. And I will also talk about Dam Rehabilitation and Implementation Program, which is a World Bank funded externally aided program, which is ongoing, and how these programs, which have been launched by Government of India since 1991, how they have been helpful so that to smoothen the process of implementation of Dam Safety Act in the country. So this is be a brief outline of my presentation. Now, can we have the presentation? Introduction. Yeah, okay. Next slide. So very briefly, next slide. Very briefly, as my previous speaker and Chairman Central Water Commission also told you, that the Dam Safety Act was passed in December 2021, and it has come into force on 30th December 2021. Next. The main objective of the Dam Safety Act basically is to provide for surveillance, inspection, operation and maintenance of the dams. Besides, in order to ensure that this should happen, there should be a creation of institutional mechanism, both at the central level as well as at the state level. At central level, there is to be a National Committee on Dam Safety, and in order to implement the policies laid down by the National Committee, there will be a National Dam Safety Authority. I will talk about it later in my later slides. At the state level, the institutional mechanism consists of a State Committee on Dam Safety, and which will lay down the policies for the respective state government. And in order to implement those policies, there will be a state dam safety organization at the state level. So both at the central and the state level, there are institutions with the Act mandates to be created so that the various provisions of the Dam Safety Act can be implemented through these institutions which are set up. And the next objective is that we should have a uniform protocols, procedures, guidelines and manuals for operation and maintenance of the dams. So how the dam is to be operated, all these guidelines, then there should be a uniform protocol. Before the act, there was an attempt on the part of Central Water Commission and the Dam Safety Organization to have a uniform protocol, but states were following their different practices. So we now want, one of the aim is to have a standardized uniform protocols to ensure the dams are operated in those, following those guidelines based on the latest specifications. So we have to develop all those manuals, guidelines, and in order, the last objective is to implement these Dam Safety Act provisions, which I will be speaking to you in the next slides. And in order to understand what these provisions mean, and in order to implement those provisions, there are specific needs, training skills required. Then only you'll be able to appreciate what the Act means and how to implement those. So in one or two slides, I will show what provisions of the Act requires which specific knowledge. This particular slide I will be sharing with you all, especially to all academic institutions who have joined today's webinar, so that they can focus their research, their studies on those training needs which are now getting mandated by the Dam Safety Act. And this will be required because we are having more than 6,500 dams in the country, the specified dams. So the needs are also huge. So this being the objective, and the preamble of the Dam Safety Act is simply, it's an act to provide for surveillance, inspection, operation and maintenance of the specified dams. I will come to you, what is the meaning of the specified dams. There is a definition in the Act which differentiates the specified dam and the non-specified dam. Next, please. Basically, I want to take you through the Act very briefly, and the Act is available in the public domain, and you can all access the Dam Safety Act 2021 on the net. However, I will tell you that there are 11 chapters and 3 schedules, and these 11 chapters, they are having 56 sections. So the chapters 1 to 6, if you see, these are about the institutional mechanisms, both at the central level, at the state level, sections related to those. Chapter 7 to 9 will be about the various provisions which have to be followed, and the last 2 chapters, number 10 and 11, miscellaneous provisions regarding offences and penalties, etc. And there are 3 schedules at the end of the Act. The Schedule 1 is about the functioning of the National Committee on Dam Safety. The Schedule 2 speaks about the functions of the National Dam Safety Authority. And the Schedule 3 speaks about the State Committee on Dam Safety. So now I will just very briefly tell you about which sections are dealing. So as I told you initially that the first 2 6 chapter, that means the sections 5 to 15, they deal with the institutional framework. So for example, now you have already know that we have a 2-tiered institutional mechanism system. So section 5 and 6 and 7, they speak about the constitution of the National Committee of Dam Safety, and also about its functioning and of the meeting of the National Committee of Dam Safety at the central level. Section 8, 9 and 10 speak about the constitution of the National Dam Safety Authority, its constitution, its functions and its meetings. Similarly, section 11 to 14, they deal with the constitution of the State Committee on Dam Safety and its functions. And the section 14 and 15 basically are dealing with the constitution of the State Dam Safety Organization. So these are the provisions dealing, and we will come in a later slide what actually these committees are intended to do. Next slide, please. Now, chapters 7 to 9, they are the uniform dam safety procedures which have to be followed by dam stakeholders. So, for example, section 16 and 17. Section 16 says that you keep a perpetual surveillance, carry out inspection, and monitor the operation and maintenance of the dam. This is mandated by the Dam Safety Act, section 16. And 17 is to classify the dams based on the vulnerability and hazard classification criteria of the dams. So these are the provisions. Section 18 says that every dam owner shall maintain a logbook, and that the database of the dam, entire thing, the designs, the drawings, and the inspection relates, all these data are to be maintained by the dam owner. It is their responsibility, and to make it available whenever required. And section 28 states that whenever you operate a dam, it should be operated by using a rule curve, a O&M manual. So each dam, we have 6,700 dams. For each dam, there should be a well-documented operation and maintenance manual, and it should be followed by the dam engineers posted over there, so that it will have a need for rule curve. I will speak to it about it in another slide. The section 21 says, see, often you see the dam maintenance suffers. Why it suffers? Because of deferred maintenance, because of lack of funds. So there's no dedicated fund for the dam safety, and even if some small minor things is observed, they are left unattended, and over a period of time these become of serious nature, and then they cause trouble. So one of the sections of the Act, section 21, mandates that the dam owning agencies, they have to ensure availability of sufficient fund to carry out not only the routine operation and maintenance, but also carry out all rehabilitation measures suggested by the State Dam Safety Organization or by the National Dam Safety Authority to ensure dam safety. So there should be a provision of adequate fund to carry out these rehabilitation. The section 22 says that all technical documentation should be available, and it should be not only available, it can be retrieved, and whenever it is required, it can be shared also. Now, these acts, now we are coming to more details. Section 31 says that for each dam specified, we shall at least carry out 2 inspections in a year. One is pre-monsoon, before the monsoon, and one is post-monsoon. So these inspections, these detailed inspections have to be carried out. Central Water Commission had earlier have a very detailed pro forma of about 40 pages, objective pro forma for carrying out so that you do not miss out anything. It is not a subjective. When you go, you have to see each and every point and you have to pick all the points and you have to give your response on all the points. So inspections are there. These inspections, both pre-monsoon and post-monsoon inspections, will actually lead to the categorization of the dam. Whether after inspection you feel pre-monsoon there is some need for rehabilitation, whether there is a serious need or it is okay or some minor correction. This is the reason we want to mandate pre-monsoon and post-monsoon inspection. Then section 32 to 34, these are about dam instrumentation. So about the minimum number of dam instruments required and a type of the instruments. Section 33 speaks about the need for establishing hydrometeorological stations in the vicinity of dam for flood forecasting and for hydrological observation. Section 34 says that any dam which is more than 30 meters in height, seismic instruments should, as mandated by the regulation, should be there in the dam. If not there, they should be installed. Section 36, see, we have 6,700 specified dams, and it says that there should be an emergency action plan for all dams. And if not, then 5 years from the date on which the Dam Safety Act came into force, all the dams should have an emergency action plan, and thereafter they need to be updated at a given period of time to be decided by the regulation. And Section 38 of the Act says that there is a need to carry out comprehensive dam safety evaluation. All the evaluation has to be for all dams within the next 5 years, and thereafter it has to be repeated or updated as per the time frequency given in the regulation. Now these were basically some of the provisions, and in order to implement these provisions, it will require some specific training needs. So, for example, in order to meet the section 16 regarding surveillance and inspection, the dam engineers involved with the inspection, they should be well trained about the safety inspection procedures. They should be knowing the checklist to be followed. They should be aware of the O&M manual. What is the O&M manual? How the dam is to be operated? What is the rule curve? So their technical need is there. So simply if you will post someone and ask him to carry out, it will be very difficult for him. So similarly, section 17 says vulnerability and hazard classification criteria. See, it is a very difficult task. In USA, the categorization of dam is done basically only on the hazard potential. Means in case a dam fails, what will be the hazard caused by it? That is one thing. But our Dam Safety Act in India, it combines the two. It combines the hazard classification along with the vulnerability. So we have to develop our own tools to which and then classify the dams. So this is still for this we have a center of excellence has been developed at IIC Bangalore, and we will try to develop this criteria for India in future. Initial filling of reservoirs, as you all are aware that many of the dams, very old dams are functioning fine, but some new dams in the first filling itself there is trouble. So the section 27 of the Dam Safety Act says that before the initial filling of the reservoir for the first time, the agency which has designed the dam, they must prepare an emergency action, they must prepare an initial filling plan. And the concerned state dam safety organization will send a team of experts to inspect before the initial filling. So to make sure that when the dam gets filled for the first time, it is done properly as per the plan. So need is there, training need for preparing the initial reservoir filling plan and is also required. Another is inspection. I've already told about. Section 31 talks about the pre-monsoon and post-monsoon inspection. So training needs will be on inspection methodology, safety inspection of dams, filling of checklist of dam safety inspection forms, preparation of inspection report, and best practices. So he should be well versed. A well versed engineer, when he goes for dam inspection, his report will be also satisfactory. Next slide. So the next three sections are related to the instrumentation of specified dams. So now the minimum number of instrumentation, the type of the instrumentation, the location of the instrumentation, these are all given not only in the regulation, which are to be published shortly, but we already have guidelines under DRIP. I will share with you in a later slide. So those dam engineers which are requiring knowledge about the instrumentation, they should refer to our guidelines prepared by Central Water Commission under DRIP phase 1. And similarly, there is a need to have a hydrometeorological station in the vicinity of the dam for flood forecasting, observing discharge observation. So there is a training need so that these activities are also carried out properly by the concerned engineers. And finally, seismological instruments also are to be required to be installed. The Dam Safety Act mandates that all dams which are greater than 30 meters in height, they need to have a minimum number of seismic instruments. So they are also, there is a guideline for that, BIS codes are also there, but we will be soon giving a guideline on the same by the NDSA. So coming to the next is, these are the section 41 to 54, these are miscellaneous provisions related to punishment for offences and penalties, because the act is very serious. It's applicable all over the country. So anybody who tries to put an obstacle in the implementation of the act is liable to be punished. And we hope that this section 41, 42 and 43 are never put in use, because we want that everyone should follow his responsibility to ensure dam safety. Further, the act has an overriding effect. So if there is any state law, etc., which is coming contrary to this act, this act will prevail.
Continue the standards, and when the amendment is ready, we will.
Please mute yourself. Okay. So now section 49 is the gives the power to amend the schedules. Section 50 gives power to the central government to give directions. Section 52 and 3 gives central government the rules to make rules, and section 54 about the need to issue regulations by the National Dam Safety Authority. These are the various provisions of the Act. And the next is applicability. The Act is applicable whole of the India. The entire country is covered under this Act, and it covers all dam owners, whether the dam is owned by a state government or by central government, by a central public sector undertaking or by a state public sector undertaking, or even by a private organization, or even by a municipal corporation. Whoever is the owner, all dams in anywhere in India, which all specified dams, the Act is applicable. And not only to the specified dams, to the unspecified dams also. And now I will come to the definition of the specified dams. So the Act, the definition is very well defined. It says that any dam which is more than 15 meters in height, measured from the lowest foundation to the top of the dam, will automatically be considered as a specified dam. And even those dams which are between 10 to 15 meters, they can also be considered as specified dams if one of these 5 conditions are met. So one is that the length of the crest should be more than 500 meters. Suppose a dam is height 12 meters, then it is not, per se, it is not a specified dam. But if the length of the crest is more than 500 meters, or the capacity, the gross capacity of the reservoir is more than 1 million cubic meter, or the maximum flood discharge is more than 2000 cumecs, or the dam has an unusual design, or it has a specific foundation problem, then also these dams can be considered specified dams. So as per the current status, there are about 6,700 specified dams in the country, and we will be very soon updating the NRLD, which was earlier showing a figure of 5,334 dams. Next, please. Now, coming back to the institutional framework. So you can very well see that we have a 2-tier mechanism at central level and at the state level. At central level, we have a National Committee on Dam Safety, and it's to lay down the policies, and its implementing agency, it is the National Dam Safety Authority. On similar lines, in the state, there will be a State Committee on Dam Safety, and to implement the policies of the State Committee of Dam Safety, there will be a State Dam Safety Organization. So this is the institutional mechanism for implementation of Dam Safety Act. Now coming to the National Committee on Dam Safety, it is, you can get the details in Schedule 1, but I will tell you briefly. It is chaired by Chairman Central Water Commission, and with 10 representatives of the central government, not below the rank of Joint Secretary, 7 representatives of state government, 3 experts, and this committee will be constituted every 3 years. And the states will be changed on rotational basis. So today there are 7 states. After 3 years, when it will be reconstituted, there will be another set of 7 states. So this will be like this, and there'll be experts also. We already have 2 experts to assist the committee. And the secretarial assistance to this committee is provided by the National Dam Safety Authority. And it has, earlier also there was a National Committee on Dam Safety. It was constituted in 1987. But that committee was not as per the format of the Dam Safety Act. Therefore, that earlier committee was dissolved, and the new committee, as per the mandate of the Dam Safety Act, has been gazette notified in February 2022. And the role of the NCDS. So it is, all these is given in the first schedule of the Act, but some of the important functions that to evolve uniform dam safety policies and recommend necessary regulations. That is one of the functions. To act as a forum of exchange of views between the different stakeholders, to analyze causes of major dam failures in the country and suggest remedial measures at policy level and at individual level also, to evolve comprehensive dam safety management approach. And whenever a dam safety, dam rehabilitation improvement program, etc., is launched by the central government or state government through external funding, the NCDS can monitor its progress also and identify the areas needing research and development in the country in the field of dam safety. These are the broad roles, but if you want to go into details, you can refer to the first schedule of the Dam Safety Act to go through the act. And the implementing agency of the National Committee on Dam Safety is the National Dam Safety Authority. Here you can see an organogram. It is to be headed by a chairman, which is to be an officer of the rank of additional secretary, and assisted by 5 members: the member policy and research, member technical, member disaster and resilience, member regulation, and 1 member administration and finance. And there will be 4 regional offices to cover the entire country at the northern, southern, northeastern, and western zones. So currently, next slide. Currently, it is the NDSA is being manned on additional charge basis. The post of the chairman NDSA is currently held by member DNR of Central Water Commission. And of the 5 members of the NDSA, charge of 4 members is presently given to chief engineers of Central Water Commission. And the 5th member, member administration and finance, is with the joint secretary and financial advisor of the Ministry of Jal Shakti. I currently am holding the charge of additional charge of member policy and research of the NDSA. Besides the 4 directorates of Central Water Commission at Coimbatore, Pune, Guwahati, and Chandigarh, they are acting as the regional directorates of NDSA. This is the present setup. So the functions of the NDSA are given in the second schedule of the Act, and some of the important functions are: it is to implement whatever policies are prepared by the NCDS. NDSA is responsible for implementation of the same. It has to have liaison between the 2 different state dam safety organizations, or in case there is a issue between any dam owner and its own SDSO, NDSA can intervene to resolve those issues. Besides, there are certain sets of dams. For example, those dams which are owned by central public sector undertakings, dams which are owned by one state but located in another state, those dams will come under the purview of the National Dam Safety Authority. So the NDSA will perform the function of SDSO in respect of those dams. These are around 66 in numbers. We have identified those 66 dams owned by CPSUs and by one state, and owning by one state and existing in other states. Those dams will come under the purview of NDSA directly. And besides, to issue regulations. So the Dam Safety Act, if you see the section 54, it lists out 19 regulations which have to be formulated, and out of 19 regulations, the NDSA has already, we will talk about it later in the next slide. So these are the main roles of NDSA, and some of the activities already Chairman Sir has talked about a national workshop which we held, and 4 regional workshops which we held to create awareness about the Dam Safety Act and to take the concerns of the state government. And we hope we have webinar also in the step in the same direction. Next. Now I will come to next. Next, the State Committee on Dam Safety. So the State Committee of Dam Safety, just on the same line, just as central level, we have a National Committee on Dam Safety. In the state, there will be a State Committee on Dam Safety, and it will be chaired by Engineer and Chief Rank Officer. There will be 6 officers of the rank of Chief Engineers. There will be representative of upstream states. In case there is a reservoir which is extending into the upstream, a representative from the upstream state will also be there, and the representative of the downstream state, where if there is any flood released and it affects the downstream states, then there will be representation from the downstream state as well in the State Committee on Dam Safety. Besides, there will be an officer from Central Water Commission of the level of director and from Central Electricity Authority in each State Committee on Dam Safeties, and it will also be constituted after every 3 years. So I am to tell you that all 28 states and 3 union territories in which there are specified dams in the country, they all have constituted the State Committee on Dam Safety. And the functions of the State Committee of Dam Safety are given in the 3rd schedule of the Act, and some of the functions are, it has to discharge such functions which may be as per the guidelines or as mandated by the NDSA. It has to review the work by State Dam Safety Organization. So whatever work are being carried out by the State Dam Safety Organization, this committee will review the works of the SDSO, and it will also create a priority. So in case there are many dams and then there is a requirement of funds, so it will say that depending on the seriousness, which dams to be taken up first, and it will give directions to the SDSO to take up the works accordingly. It will also ask the SDSO before the first filling of a dam, initial filling, it will ask the SDSO to inspect, get the dam inspected before the first filling. And in case there is a dam failure related incidents, then it will direct the SDSO to obtain all the details and analyze the causes and provide all these details to NDSA. So all these works are to lay down follow the policies constituted by laid down by this NCDS, and also to see the works related to its own SDSO. And the State Dam Safety Organization is similar to the NDSA on the state level. And here the constitution is that if there are more than 30 specified dams in a state, then it will be chaired by an officer of the rank, not below the rank of Chief Engineer. And if there are less than 30 dams, then it can be headed by this is as per the Act, by an officer of the rank of Superintending Engineer. And it should have suitable number of officers. And all 28 states and 3 UTs, they have already established the State Dam Safety Organizations. Prior to the Act also, there were some State Dam Safety Organizations, but they have all been dissolved and all have been reconstituted as per the provisions of the Dam Safety Act 2021. Next. So the important functions to see in a state, there will be various dam owners. So some dams may be owned by Water Resource Department, some dams may be state electricity boards, some by private, some by municipal corporations. The State Dam Safety Organization will have to implement the policies of SCDS and NCDS across all dam owners. So all the dam owners basically will be reporting to the SDSO as far as matter of the dam safety is concerned. And whenever they carry out any inspection, the inspections are to be carried out first by the dam owners, and they will submit the report to the SDSO. The SDSO will in turn examine the report, and if necessary, they will cause their own. They will also inspect through their experts, and before then they will submit to NDSA. So it acts as a bridge between the various dam owners and between the NDSA. And in case of any dam related incident or the failure, it collects all the information from the dam owners, provides to NDSA, and in case there is any help required by the dam owner, it provides itself or seeks the help of the National Dam Safety Authority. And it has the power to inspect any dam. No dam owner can refuse SDSO inspection, and they can recommend the rehabilitation measures based on the inspection. These are some of the roles. Now, we have talked about the central level and the state level, and then we should come down to the project level. For each dam, there should be a dam safety unit, and that dam safety unit is constituted from the O&M staff of that dam itself. So there will be a unit constituted from the within the O&M staff, which will be constituted as the dam safety unit, and they will be carrying out the pre-monsoon and post-monsoon inspection, send the first report to the SDSO. So many states have already constituted and notified their dam safety units. Maharashtra has constituted more than 3,000 dam safety units across the state. Now, dam owners, I spoke to you earlier that all the large dams in India are generally owned by state governments. They can be through their water resource department or through the state electricity boards or even through municipal corporations. Besides, there are central public sector undertakings like NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, National Hydropower Corporation, Damodar Valley Corporation, Bhakra Vyas Management Board, Satluj Jan Vidyut Nigam Limited. These are some central public sector undertakings which are also owning large dams, and few dams are also private owned. But all the dams, whether owned by private or public, comes under the purview of this act. Next. Having said about the Dam Safety Act, now I will come to the dam rehabilitation programs. So the first National Committee on Dam Safety was constituted way back in 1987. That was to lay down uniform policies. And at the same time in India, the Government of India launched the first dam rehabilitation assurance program in 1991. It was a small beginning. It was a World Bank assisted program, and it had only 4 states at that time: Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu. Only 33 dams were taken up for physical rehabilitation, but it was the beginning. In that, 33 dams were physically rehabilitated at a cost of 4.22 billion rupees. And it also laid down the foundation of institutional capacity building, providing training needs, physical rehabilitation works, all and carrying preparation of documents, etc., strengthening the SDSO. The thing started from 1991 itself, much before the act came into power. The second program which was launched was the DRIP, that is the Dam Rehabilitation Improvement Program in 2012. It continued from 2012 to 2021, and the scale was much bigger. Here the budget was 25 billion rupees. It was assisted by the World Bank. And in this project, 223 dams were rehabilitated. These 223 dams were located in 7 states. And there were also central agencies, DVC and Central Water Commission associated in this project. And there were 3 components in this project. The first project was the rehabilitation of dams and its structures. The second was institutional strengthening, and the third was project management. And the supervision of this was provided by Central Water Commission. And of course, the objective remains the same: to improve the safety and operational performance of selected dams along with institutional strengthening. And I will speak briefly about the, next please, about each component. So 84% of the total cost of DRIP phase 1, that is 25 billion, 84% of the cost was spent on the component 1, which is related to rehabilitation of dams and its appurtenant structures. So here you can see in this picture, there is one dam, Sarvalur Dam, on my right side. It was the upstream geomembrane was provided on the upstream phase to prevent the leakage. It is functioning fine. It had issues of huge leakage. And another, you can see this Godbole type gates on my left side. It's a Chandpata Dam in Madhya Pradesh. So that was also rehabilitated. And so around 223 dams were rehabilitated. And besides these, other key achievements in this component was that the emergency action plan of 221 dams and O&M manual of 217 dams were also got prepared. So it started beginning, so much before the act came, we already started preparing the emergency action plan and the O&M manuals for specified dams. That was counted in the component 1 of the DRIP phase 1. Next, please. The component 2 was institutional strengthening. As I have been talking about this, in order to implement the various provisions, there is a huge need of capacity building, and not at all stakeholders, not only the engineers, but also about the institutions, the capacity building of institutions. So there was a component of in the DRIP phase 1 about the institutional strengthening, and it conducted various trainings, customized trainings on various identified specific needs. And there were 13 guidelines. I will share in a later slide. 13 guidelines were prepared during the DRIP phase 1, which are still in use. And Dharma, in order to maintain an inventory of all the dams in the country and to have its salient features their all logistic details captured in a web-based tool. We have created this thing. Initially, it was built for to take care of dams only under DRIP phase 1, the only 7 states, but now it has to be scaled up to cover the entire country. And so they also, the DRIP phase 1 also gave these organized dam safety conferences, 2 international dam safety conferences, 3 national dam safety conferences, and other things related to institutional strengthening. And the third part of the component of the DRIP was project management. So project management, because whenever the project management is required at the state level as well as at the central level. So just in the same pattern as Dam Safety Act, at the central level, there was a central project management unit which was monitoring the entire DRIP of all the states which were covered under DRIP phase 1. And for each state, there was a state project management unit to take care of all the procurements of goods and services, tendering, budgeting, auditing, inspections, etc. So there was a project management unit at both at the state level and at the central level to ensure the success of the project taken under the DRIP phase 1. Similar type of activity is now under the Act, but now it is State Dam Safety Organization and the National Dam Safety Authority catering the similar thing, but the thing started under DRIP phase 1. So these were the 3 components, and the success, the DRIP phase 1 was quite successful. And the key achievements I will share with you. What are the key achievements of the DRIP phase 1? You can see that uniform dam safety procedures, 13 guidelines. Can we show them a list of the 13 guidelines? See these 13 guidelines, I have a list of these 13 guidelines for developing emergency action plan, a manual for rehabilitation of large dams, guidelines for instrumentation of large dams. These 13 guidelines were prepared and they are all available in the public domain at the website damsafety.cwc.gov.in. Any one of you who is interested can go to this website and download any of the guidelines. They provide you the basic these things. Of course, these guidelines will be reviewed and very soon the NDSA will, but till the time NDSA comes up, its own regulations and the guidelines, these guidelines developed under the DRIP phase 1 will be continued to be utilized. And Dharma also was an achievement of the DRIP. See, the Dharma was a web-based tool made initially to monitor the progress of the DRIP projects, but now it is now under upgradation, and we have to make it to the all India level and all the states. Basically, the information is to be added by the dam owners, and it can be edited. There are several layers of it, and we provide who can edit the information, who can provide the basic information, who can change the information. There are licenses given to the dam owners and at the SDSO level and at the central level. So we are in the process of upgrading the tool, and very shortly, in a month or so, we will be coming up with a new Dharma which will be an inventory of all the dams, specified dams in the country, and it will be all the inspections, all those things carried out specific to the dam. It will be available in that Dharma. Besides, one of the achievements was capacity building under DRIP phase 1. So about 186 national and international trainings were conducted. 2 international dam safety conferences were organized to share the best practices in the dam rehabilitation. 3 national dam safety conferences were organized. Besides, one of the very important achievement was, and this I am especially sharing with all the academic institutions which have joined, we started 2 courses of MTech in dam safety, one at IIT Roorkee and one at IISc Bangalore, and we are sponsoring candidates also under DRIP from the various DRIP agencies for these programs. Besides, these students are also being selected through GATE also, and the first batch is now out, going to pass out very soon, and I am glad to inform you most of the students have already been placed, and those left we will be considering how their placement is to be taken up. So this MTech course in dam safety will be a very beneficial step, because when these people, whether sponsored candidates of WRDs and SCBs or the GATE qualified, when they go back, and then they will be an asset, because they will be well trained in various facets of the dam safety. And besides this, the institutional strengthening was also done. One of the key achievements of the DRIP phase 1, in which the CPMU, the SPMU, all these, they had the facility to hire consultants and to undergo trainings. So all these were the key achievements of DIP phase 1. And seeing the success of the DIP phase 1, even just as soon as the DIP phase 1 finished, the DIP phase 2 and 3 was launched in 2021. The DIP phase 2, each project is of 6 years duration, so it should be 12 years, but there is an overlap of 2 years. So the period is basically from 2021 to 2031. Its scale is much larger than DIP phase 1. So here the budget is 102 billion Indian rupees, and with World Bank assistance of about 7,000 crores or 70 billions out of the 102 billions. There are 19 states. So in DIP phase 1 there were 7, and now there are 19 states, 3 central agencies. The 3 central agencies are Central Water Commission, Bhakra Byas Management Board, and Damodar Valley Corporation. 3 central agencies, and 736 dams are proposed to be rehabilitated under DIP phase 1. All the components are same as the DIP phase 1, only one additional component has been added, and that is the component 3, which is the incidental revenue generation for sustainable operation and maintenance. So now we have talked that many a times the dams face problem because of inadequacy of funds. So they have thought of an innovative mechanism that if we can generate some earning from the dams as per the state government policy should also support that, then part of the revenue earned can go back to the dam safety to ensure that the dams are perpetually maintained in a proper way. That is the component 3. So here also the component 1, we intend to provide the major share of about 86%, the other 3, 4, 5 and 5%. So this is the broad outlay of DIP phase 2. It has already started, and I will just give you, these are the components, component 1, 2, 3, 4. As I told you, 86% to component 1, 4%, 5% for component 2, 4% for 3, and 5% for component 4. So all these funds have been allocated, but these are loose and they can be changed. Next. And the current status that the loan agreement was signed in 2021, and it became effective in October 21 by the World Bank. And $500 million is the loan for DIP phase 2. And out of $500 million, $250 million is being provided by the World Bank, and the remaining $250 million by Asian Infrastructure Bank. And the loan with the AIIB was signed in May 2022, and it became effective in December 2022. So out of 19 states, we are still in the second year of the DIP phase 2. 14 states are already on board in the DIP phase 2. These are Gujarat, Kerala, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Rajasthan, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Uttarakhand, UP and West Bengal. And 4 more states, they are yet to fulfill the World Bank readiness criteria, and they will also join: Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Jharkhand. Besides, the 3 agencies, 2 central, BBMB and DVC, and the state of Goa are almost ready to join. Very shortly, we will have them also on board. So then 14 states will become 15, and with the joining of BBMB and DVC, we will have 3 central agencies. So 15 states and 3 central agencies very shortly, and only 4 states are yet to join. This is the current status of in the second year of DIP phase 2. Next slide. And coming to the further details, so the project screening template, so of about 242 dams. The project, see, in each DIP, the process is like that there is a dam safety review panel. It goes and carries out detailed inspection. It submits its report. It's an independent dam safety panel constituted by the state government, and it goes and inspects the dam and gives its report. Based on the report of the dam safety review panel, the state government or the implementing agency will prepare what are its need for rehabilitation of the dam, and accordingly we will prepare a project screening template. So far for DIP phase 2, 242 project screening templates with a cost of about 6,900 crores have already been prepared, and out of these 121 PSTs with a cost of about 4,000 crores has already been approved by the CWC and the World Bank. And the project cost of the World Bank DIP phase 2 is about 5,107. So you see that for component 1 we are already reaching 80%, and for these 4,000 for which we have approved the PST, tendering has been done for 2,500 crore rupees, and out of that already works are awarded to the tune of 1,560 crores, and expenditure to date is about 733 crores, about 15%. We are still not completed the 2 years of the initial implementation, and the budget for the year 23-24 is 1,472 crores. So this, and already the design flood review about 308 dams have been carried out, and the dam safety review panel inspection of about 356 dams have already been carried out under DRIP phase 2. This is the current status. Next. So since morning, we are saying that now we have built upon a very huge task with this Dam Safety Act, which is mandate all over India, and 6,700 dams, specified dams. So the capacity building is one of the main issues that we continued in DRIP phase 1. We will continue in the DRIP phase 2 and 3. And we, first of all, we provided a training in the dam safety aspects on the request of Government of Gujarat. It was provided at National Water Academy, and the Government of Gujarat officers, they sent their officers to Pune, and they were trained during May 2023 at Pune, and the program was very successful, and we will fine tune that program, and we will done with these programs will be done at a regular interval very shortly, wherein all the state government, they can send their nominated officers to attend these training programs. So we will be carrying out these dam safety programs at National Water Academy. Besides the risk assessment of tool. So you see, I have told you that there are the two ways. One is the risk assessment based on the hazard. The other is based on the vulnerability of the dam. So one such tool was developed by World Bank, and initial training was held, online training was held in January, in which people from states and Central Water Commission were trained. And we intend to continue this training, and we will do it on the physical mode to 3 selected dams very shortly, maybe in next month or 2. And besides, the online training on Dharma was provided to the state government of Maharashtra officials, because Maharashtra accounts for more than about half the total dams in the country. So training on Dharma was provided to the officers of Maharashtra, so that they are able to upload the salient features of the dam in the Dharma portal. And besides, in order to understand what are the training needs of this, is specifically, this thing is very important to all the academic institutions which have joined today, that we conducted a workshop very recently in the month of July itself, and NDSA carried out the workshop under the Ministry of Water Resources, and to assess the training needs of various stakeholders about the dam safety. So the state governments, now I have also shared you a slide earlier, that in order to implement various provisions of the Dam Safety Act, we need specific skill sets. So we have 6,700 dams. There will be 28 states. There are so many dam owning agencies. The needs are immense, and documentation, the Act provides for a minimum documentation for each dam. There should be an emergency action plan. There should be a comprehensive dam safety review. There should be a design flood review. All this is to be done for 6,700 dams. This cannot be alone done by the respective state government or by Central Water Commission. So there will be a need to outsource these activities. So development of capacity. So we wanted to understand, we have understanding of ourselves, what are the training needs, but we still wanted to have these assessed from the various state agencies, what are your needs, and we have compiled, and very shortly NWA will be compiling, and I on my part will be sharing the needs of the state government training needs with we have signed, we will share it with, not only with NWA will prepare it of course, but all those institutions, they can chip in. Please mute yourself. So we will be sharing these training needs of the various stakeholders with all academic institutions which we are knowing, and whoever is having whatever inputs. See, every institute will have its own domain areas. So they can provide because this need cannot be met by 1 or 2 institutes. NWA alone or the IIT Roorkee or IIC Bangalore will try their best, and Central Water Commission at its own level will try our best, but the needs are immense. So there is a need to scale up these activities. So in order to meet these things, we have also created an International Center of Excellence for Dam, and we've already signed with IIT Roorkee in February 2023 this year. And the 2 focused areas assigned to IIT Roorkee is one on the reservoir sedimentation and second is seismic hazard mapping. So these are their focus areas, but IIT Roorkee has got a huge domain. There are various, they can provide trainings on, we will share the training needs with IIT Roorkee also. They can organize their own training calendar. NWA will organize its own training calendar. IISc Bangalore is the second institute with which we are very shortly going to have the MOU. And there also we will establish an International Center of Excellence for Dams. So we will share our training needs with the IISc Bangalore, every institute, and also with the State Engineering Research Institute in various states. So whatever, every institute we will expect that at the end they will have their own training calendar, and a person needing any training needs, he can go to the website of NWA or IIT Roorkee or IISc Bangalore at one point of time immediately or maybe in coming future and select his training and the location, and so that he can get adequately trained. Besides, we have also started MTech program in dam safety at IIT Roorkee and IISc Bangalore. We have also signed a MOU with the Malviya National Institute of Technology. That of course not under DRIP, but that was with the NDSA's fund and for the seismic studies. Next. So there is an immense need for you people to academic institutes, faculties to develop these training programs accordingly. And now I will come to the last part of my presentation, and I will try to show you that merely having an act was not enough, because we prepared the journey of the act, and the journey started in 1991 itself when we launched the various dam rehabilitation programs. So how I will try to show you here how these dam rehabilitation programs, which was started by the government of India since 1991 and continuing till date, how they have created a suitable environment and created a dam safety, sustainable dam safety culture in the country. So it has smoothened that it has made it very easy for those states which were part of these dam safety programs, because they now are having access to many literature and many guidelines, and their capacity building also has been done. So they are in much better position to implement the provisions of the Act. So now you just coming to specific things that just as we see that talked about the Act initially, in the Act there is a two-level institutional mechanism, one at the central level and one at the state level. So similar arrangement was there in all the dam rehabilitation program at the state level and at the central level. At the central level, there was a national level steering committee, and in order to implement these things, there was a central project management unit. At the state level, there was a state level steering committee under the state government, and there was a state project management unit. So these institutional mechanisms are similar to those which have been created by the dam safety. Of course, the roles are different, but at least in order to implement whatever is envisaged under the Act, you need an institutional mechanism. So those states which were under part of DRIP phase 1 or DSRP, or they are in a much better, and the other states, we will help them and provide hand-holding support to the other states so that we all are able to come up to the challenges and meet all the provisions of the Dam Safety Act. So another focus of these dam rehabilitation program was that we focused on institutional strengthening and capacity building, not only of the individuals, but also of the implementing agencies. So the implementing agencies, so for example, state government, they may be having a research laboratory where they can do some testing, etc. But due to lack of fund, etc., they are unable to maintain those laboratory, or they want some new. So these institutional strengthening were also provided to various institutes, the implementing agencies, to upgrade
your mic.
To upgrade their skills so as to provide these meet the challenges of the dam safety. So we basically stressed on institutional strengthening and capacity building, and when we provided trainings to dam safety engineers from the state governments, from the central, from CPMUs, and they were provided state-of-art trainings. We stressed that, and now with the passing of the Dam Safety Act, it is so important that these skill sets is the focus. Those states which are having these skill sets, it is mandatory, or then only they will be able to implement the various provisions of the Act. For example, there is a stress on the DRIP programs. There is a stress that all the dams and the DRIP, we will review the design flood. We will review the design flood. because one of the provisions of the Act says the dam might have been constructed in 1950 as per the standards prevalent at that point of time. But, as per the Act, the dam should be safe as per the present standard. So, for example, the design flood at that point of time was done based on flood frequency analysis, and spillway capacity was designed accordingly. But now we are in 2023 and much more data is available. And now if the dam is to be designed as per the present standard for project probable maximum flood, then PMF has to be worked out. And we have to see whether this spillway capacity is more or less. If it is less, then we have to think of whether to provide additional spillway capacity or make the dam safe by operationally, means by lowering the FRL for a few period so that the revised flood, when impinged on the FRL, does not overtop the dam. So these skill sets for design flood review, for preparation. Now emergency action plan, what does it mean? It means that you need to know dam break modeling. Dam break modeling, then you have to do inundation mapping, flood routing, all these skill sets. This is to be done for 6,700 dams. So your engineer should be trained, and if not, then you have to get it done from other agencies, various academic institutes, CWC and other things. So these training needs are immense. Where ONM manual, now the Dam Safety Act says that each dam should have an ONM manual. So there may be many dams which may not be having a proper ONM manual. So there is a need to prepare one ONM manual for all dam. Risk assessment, instrumentation, there are guidelines available under DRIP phase 1, etc. which can, so these training needs are growing and we have to make it. So I also shared those 13 published guidelines and manuals which are available in the DRIP phase. These 13 published guidelines are available in the website. You can have an access to those. And we have also, see, in the DRIP phase 1, we also prepared emergency action plan and ONM manual for about more than 200 dams. So all these things are required by the Act also. So whatever we did in the DRIP phase 1, etc., now as per the Act, it is mandatory. So that we started these activities much before the passing of the Act. So now coming to my last slide. So in India, the inception of dam safety legislation began in 1987. When the National Committee on Dam Safety, it was a long journey, and one of the speakers after me will take you through the journey, the entire journey, how this road of 40 years till we were successfully able to enact the Dam Safety Act. He will take you through the entire journey. I will not repeat it, but it started in 87. And the first dam rehabilitation program was also started in 1991. And since then, they are going parallelly. So they have been very helpful in making the states ready. There will be another session very soon after my session where we will talk about the readiness of the states. So these rehabilitation programs have created an environment, created literature, manuals, guidelines, so that the Act can be implemented. And just to share you a last thing, that Brazil also enacted the Dam Safety Act in 2010. But there were no this type of program previous to that in the country of Brazil. So when they enacted the Act, it was very difficult for them to implement the provisions because they started with a scratch. So we are in a much, though still these are initial days of the Act, and slowly we will be coming out with more guidelines, more help, more capacity building. But I am sure with the cooperation of all. So that's why I wanted people from not only state government, state electricity boards, private agencies, from academic institutes, faculties, students, everyone to join to see the immense scope which is available in this field of dam safety and to hone up your skills and to ensure that dam safety is taken through in the country. So that is the end of my presentation. Now I will ask you if you have any question, please put in the chat box. I will try to respond. And my next speaker is likely to, I think his time starts. Pandya ji, you can tell me when the next speaker will be online?
Sir, actually, this session is scheduled with at 11:45, but we can take for 2-3 minutes. Many
Okay.
Queries in the chat box, we will reply through email. But one of the queries by Ajay Pradhan ji, I want that he should speak because he has not clarified what exactly he wants to. He can speak and then we can understand. And rest of the questions we will take through, we will reply through email because the Pandya session is time is already there to begin. So thank you, sir. And Ajay ji, you can raise your query.
Okay, I have a couple of questions to Vijay ji. One is actually in the act you mentioned that you need minimum 6 engineers in some states to be a member in that committee, and you know that many states do not have even more than 2 chief engineers. I think that's one thing you need to take a exclusion in that. The second aspect is there are it's a high time now in India. There are a lot of levees which are more than 10-12 meters. And there are many times also these levees act like a big dam kind of thing. Look at the Kosi barrage and many deltaic canal systems where the flood protection levees are there. I think the act should duly incorporate or bring amendment to take some of these levees, which are flood protection levees, as part of the Dam Safety Act. Because if that has been left out, nobody will bother. You release a lot of water during the high flood season, which passes over the design flood. Then obviously you will have a problem with the levies. The third aspect is, the financial aspect you mentioned very briefly, but I think that's the key to the dam safety organization going forward. I mean, the 30 years ago we started in 1991, but still many dam safety organizations are having no proper staff. The staffs get trained and they get shifted. So therefore, institutional things will work when the trained people are gone from after taking training. They need to remain there at least some time to really, give that or pass on those, legacy knowledge to the others. Otherwise, it will remain like that. Thank you very much, Vijay ji.
Thank you, Dr. Pradhan. I am very happy to answer your queries. So the first query regarding the 6 engineers, it's a provision, but though for smaller states, we make an exception. If there are such cases, then we exempt that to that extent. That is the provision, is general provision was there. The second question about levies, that is a very relevant question. Actually, the Act says that any structure built across the river will be constituted as the dam. The Dam Safety Act says that. But if you go to USA, they have the entire levees, because the levees are the works constructed along the river to protect the flood water from spilling over. So they are presently not under the purview of the Act as per the definition of this Act. But you are right, it needs to be taken into this thing, and for that we may need an amendment. But these are initial days of Dam Safety Act. Let us this thing, and we will think this is under the notice of the government. And US Army Corps of Engineers is in fact doing the lot on this levee protection. They have an act to that also. So maybe we will point out this that there is a need to include the levees also under the purview of the Dam Safety Act. So maybe an amendment will be required. And the third aspect is that the DRIP program is based on a limited reach basis. So now in the DRIP phase 1, there were 7 states. In the DRIP phase 2, there are 19 states. We are slowly increasing, but the needs of the dam safety across the country is huge. So there we will be thinking of a dam safety fund. How the contours of those funds will be discussed in the ministry, whether it will be through budgetary mode or through external loaning, funding, etc. But that is under the notice of the government, and we are deliberating on it. Thank you. Any other question?
I think
I have a question.
Addressed to some extent. Rest of the things he can raise in chat box. We can respond through email. And, though there are many queries, but since we are a little late, though you had some completed session and a very comprehensive and detailed session in very short time, but still since time is important for all of us, so we have next session by Shri A.B. Pandya, Secretary General ICID, International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage, and former Chairman Central Water Commission. But before I invite him, I would like to briefly mention about his credentials for all of you. Shri A.B. Pandya sir, an alumnus of IIT Delhi, has over 40 years of professional experience in water resources and irrigation planning, design, implementation, and financing. He has sound knowledge of various aspects of irrigation and drainage engineering, with a strong competence of leveraging technologies in core areas, especially IT. He specializes in the design of dam and underground structures and related activities. He is very active in the field of dam safety assessment, assurance, and rehabilitation technologies. He has over 20 technical publications to his credit. Shri Pandya sir, in his professional career, occupied several top positions in various Government of India offices under the Ministry of Water Resources, now Ministry of Jal Shakti, which include Director General, National Water Development Agency, and Chairman and Managing Director, National Projects Construction Corporation. He has been a key figure behind the establishment of international flagship event India Water Week for MWR, and also established the National Conference on Dam Safety, an annual event with assistance from World Bank funded TRIP project. He has been conferred with various awards and recognitions by professional bodies like Central Board of Irrigation and Power, Indian Geotechnical Society, Indian Society of Rock Mechanics and Tunneling Technology, Aqua Foundation, Water Digest, etc. He is associated with a number of water resources societies as member and office bearer, such as Indian Water Resources Society, Indian Association of Hydrologists, etc. Shri Pandya sir was elected as Vice President of International Commission on Irrigation and Drainage for the period 2014 to 2016 and made active contributions to the various activities of the Commission. He is currently serving as the Secretary General of ICID with effect from 1st January 2018. Shri Pandya sir is to deliver session on preparedness for implementation of Dam Safety Act by dam owners.
Thank you, Shailendra Pandey for.
We are delighted to have you in this webinar, sir. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. And I think we are starting a little bit late, but then it was very interesting to hear from Vijay Saran about the initiatives that are being taken presently for implementing the dam safety program. So now let us get started. Let me first share my presentation with you. Okay, so I hope you are all able to see this presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So let us get ahead with the with our topic today. That is the preparedness of the dam owners for implementation of dam safety program. Now, as you all know, and has been discussed just now, that the dam safety program in a coordinated way has received a very great fillip from the Dam Safety Act enactment. Once the Dam Safety Act came into being, we had a very good situation wherein the awareness increased manifold, and because of the increased awareness and also the financial support from various programs, the dam safety is now receiving sufficient attention, and it is not a day too soon. We are at the cusp of the climate change. Already we are seeing the kind of extreme weather events that are happening. And we have, let us be frank, we have not designed our dams for these extreme events. We hardly had an idea that the kind of intense storms that may end up being impinging upon the catchments, and then the kind of catchment responses that you will get at even the medium and small dams. So it is high time that we start looking at the dam safety as a discipline and implement the provisions to the extent that we can make our dams safe. If you don't have the dams, you will not have the water conservation and you will not have the water security. So conserving and maintaining our dams is something that is going to be very, very important. So we just now we were talking on this, that why dam safety, because they are very costly infrastructure built at a very great expense and effort and are a public asset. The infrastructure has got a great value in the economy of the country. As you can see, a very interesting phenomena that is happening presently is that when India is looking at its food security, the world is buffeted by the issues of food security due to the various other geopolitical conditions. And the prime reason that India could achieve water security and food security has been part of the contribution that the dams made in providing us with the established irrigation. So maintaining these assets is something that we need to be very, very serious about. We can't neglect them. We can't allow them to deteriorate. Even though there is an issue, because we are not considering water as an economic commodity, and because of that, many of our irrigation dams especially are not receiving the kind of attention that they should receive from the point of view of funding and point of view of attention consequent to the availability of the funding, is something that is really going to harm the country in a very serious way when we will move forward, and we will have to face the kind of extreme climate situations that we are likely to face in near future. There has been a very important activity on dam safety all across the world. People have become aware at various times, and people have enacted these kind of dam safety acts at various places. Some of the better prosperous countries were able to provide with a substantial with a substantial kind of inputs, and whereas in case of the other areas, the act has been there, but then we haven't been able to do much about it. Just one moment, why this annotation business has come up? Can somebody stop this annotation, because of this annotation thing, I'm not able to move the slide also. I will stop sharing first. Let me.
We will share from our end if you want.
Yeah, let me first stop it. I am in a meeting, Srivas. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. कौन सा ये फ्लो है मैं देख के बताता हूँ.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Vijay Sharma ji.
Yeah. Okay. Now I think I have got it. Now this annotation business is stopped. Yeah. So now this is the history which we will not repeat, because we have already gone through this probably with the Vijay Saran's presentation. So we need not really repeat this. We now have the dam safety legislation, and now let us get to the brass tacks of how the dam safety legislation is required to be implemented. So the first and foremost thing is that it is an act which is not exactly a kind of an enforcement, but basically laying down the procedures and standards in a manner that the dam safety program gets implemented within the state. So it is more of a guideline, even though it has been put in the form of an act in order to make it legally enforceable. So the issues are that the statutory establishment of the national committees and also the state committees, and providing them with the teeth in the form of National Dam Safety Authority and then also at the states level, is the key aspect of this act. Now, the responsibility levels for the dam safety are multiple, because it's a public asset and its disaster has an implication which can travel much beyond even the boundaries. The responsibility at various levels have to be fixed, and the prime responsibility has been fixed on the owner of the dam for implementing the required procedures and practices. Everybody else is there to help, but there is a the requirement that the owner cannot escape that responsibility, because the owner is deriving the economic benefits out of these particular dams. Now, whether the owner is discharging their duties or not, the states have been entrusted with the supervision and enforcement functions for implementing the provisions of the Act. So the support in form of a state level dam safety committee is provided, wherein you can not only discuss the administrative issues, but also discuss the issues which can be of technical in nature, which may require interaction with the other authorities and other agencies, and require coordination. So this is
I can start.
yeah. So this is the crucial aspect of the responsibility sharing. And then at the national level, the union also has to have powers in order to take action in respect of the dam safety, because many of the dams are interstate in nature. Quite a few of the dams are even transboundary in nature. And being transboundary in nature or interstate again is a kind of an internal transboundary kind of a situation. The central government has to be in the loop, so that the coordination and the required adjudication between the two different parties can take place, and national level standards are implemented, so that these standards will define a particular level of dam safety, a particular level of preparedness, and that those standards then can be applied uniformly across the country, so all dams can come to a safety level which is decided. The prime focus of the Dam Safety Act is on surveillance and rehabilitation. The dam safety is primarily an asset management exercise where you have to continuously look at your asset and see how it is performing and what it needs. And when it needs, those needs are to be satisfied. You have to understand those needs. So this is a very important part of surveillance. Regular inspection programs and other things that are being discussed in the Dam Safety Act are part of the surveillance priority. But simultaneously, we have dams at various ages. We have also dams at various stages of development. We have dams which are more than 100 years old, and we also have dams which are hardly 2-3 years old. But they have older dams especially. They have been designed with a particular kind of design philosophy which was in vague at that point of time. We don't say that that philosophy was wrong, but the fact remains is that after their commissioning, the science has progressed. We have developed better understanding. We have developed more data with relation to our environment, and we have come to a situation where we see that the provisions that were made are not adequate. And for that, the dam needs to be rehabilitated in order to meet the provisions which are at the present level. Simultaneously, there may be problems that would have come up with the age. And it is those problems which will also have to be tackled, because your structure can age, but then the safety requirements are something which cannot be really sideline. And the safety will have to be on a par with a new dam that is being commissioned at the present stage on the present disaster. So rehabilitation is a very important part of the dam safety activity, especially in our initial phase, because suddenly we have landed up with, let us say, 5,200 odd large dams, and all of these dams, or at least most of them, have not yet been examined, have not yet been thought about as the entities which will require what are the requirements of those entities. So the rehabilitation requirements are really high, and at this point of time we may have to focus for quite a few years, if not decades, to manage the rehabilitation programs. So dam safety, as you can see, the DRIP 1, DRIP 2, even earlier DSARP, they all had a substantial component of rehabilitation program associated with the dam safety, because of the fact that if you do not rehabilitate the dam, then you cannot establish a uniform safety regime across the state or across the country. So for that, it is very much important that we need to look at the rehabilitation program in a very, very serious manner at this point of time when we are starting the implementation of our Dam Safety Act. There are multiple aspects involved in the rehabilitation program. The natural sciences are involved, the material sciences are involved, and all of these are to be performed on a patient who doesn't speak directly to you. The issue of this particular nature, where the dam will reveal its problems to you in a very indirect manner, and then you have to really understand that what is it that it is causing the problem, and then you have to find the solution. There are also various operational and other problems that has to be tackled. So the issue is that the dam rehabilitation activity is a very iterative kind of activity. And there, because the investments are large, the requirement of the prior optimization of the investments by way of finding the right solution in the beginning itself is something that becomes very, very important. So the process is a multidisciplinary process, and you need a range of expertise from the hydrometeorology, seismology, hydraulics, material sciences, simulation and mathematical modeling, risk quantification, because if you don't do the risk quantification, then your portfolio management of the dams will suffer. Then even the construction planning, there are very careful construction planning is required. There are huge amount of constraints that a existing dam poses to you when you want to rehabilitate it. For example, you cannot lower the water level beyond a limit. You cannot do certain things in certain manner. So a lot of interaction is required. So let us just have a look at the kind of complex process that this dam safety activities really present to us. As you can see, this is a partial list of activities. This is not yet the full. There are still potentialities of adding to this flowchart. But then I thought that at least this kind of this flowchart has to be understood by the dam safety professionals, and not only understood by the dam safety professionals, but also they should make this understood by the policy and financial authorities that are going to be there as a part of the dam safety activities. Because if you have to implement this kind of a iterative activity, then the financial and the logistics guy also will have to be in step with you. Otherwise, you may be deprived of the resources. So here, as we can see it in a normal rehabilitation program, we always start with two aspects, because these are the two major natural loads that come on the dam. One is the flood and the reservoir storage. So the review of flood hydrology and the review of observed floods are required. And through that, using the hydrometeorological approach and also any other approach that may be required, we have to finalize the revised flood. whether the flood needs a revision or not has a very great impact on the entire rehabilitation program. You cannot prepare an estimate unless you have finalized your flood. If you do that, your estimate is likely to be off the mark by several orders of magnitude. Similar is the situation with the seismic status of the dam. We have relatively stable areas where this doesn't pose a very huge problem, like say peninsular India. But then we have a very substantial part of our storages are likely to be located in the Himalayan region and many parts of the country which are all seismically very, very active. So the review of the seismic status of the dam also presents a very big challenge, and that also requires certain amount of data collection, the studies, the simulation, and they also have to be corroborated with the seismic data that may be available in the ambient area of the dam. This will provide you with the revised seismic parameters. Like you have provided with the flood, you will also be provided with the seismic parameters. Now, when you finalize the flood, the first thing that happens is that whether the spillway capacity is adequate, how you are going to manage this flood when this flood imposes on your project. And for that, the additional spillway requirements question really comes in. There are multiple choices available against that. The inflow forecasting, so that you know the dam is going to receive this much amount of flood, and accordingly you may manage the reservoir water levels so that partially you can store and then partially you can do moderated releases. So pre-depletion becomes a important aspect that is linked to the inflow forecasting. You may not be able to take full risk with the inflow forecasting alone, and you will also need to have hard modifications like taking up and finding out the new spillway arrangements, and new structures may have to be found out. You also have to look at the modified reservoir parameters, the maximum water level that you will allow the flood situation to really undergo. And those are requiring, ultimately, they will all start translating into the investments and feasibilities. So you have to have a techno-economic evaluation of the optimal solutions. What can you do? Which is the better option, or which mix of these two is a better option? And that determines your course of action. Because that determines that if you ask for the new designs, you may have to go in a particular direction. If you ask for the change in the reservoir level parameters, you have to again go in a different direction, and then the focus then lands up shifting to the structural part of it, where we have come up with the idea of the seismic parameters. And now when we start looking at the structural performance of the dam, then you realize that you will need to determine what are the compactness of the dam, how the dam material is behaving, wherein the determination of the seepage based loads that may be coming up on your amendment dam may be there. You also have to determine what is the existing structural strength, whether the structural strength is adequate for the normal parameters of the dam with which the dam was designed, or what other changes that have occurred in the structural strength characteristics, so that the dam will respond in a particular manner if we end up doing something. So this, coupled with because of the flood, there may be an input of the additional loads because of the changes in the operation patterns of the reservoir and the maximum water level and tailwater levels. So additional loads may come. You have to do the simulation and see that what is the existing structural safety, how much amount of additional efforts are required, and then you have to come to the remedial measures. On the other side, if you have decided to go for the additional structures, you may have to also find the hydraulics and the spillway and the new energy dissipation models, and then you have to find out what are the energy dissipation arrangements that can be done, how much modification can be done with, what is the kind of feasibility of those modifications, and then again those modifications have to be again put in your structural model, and then you have to see that those modifications are indeed possible and they are not posing some kind of an unforeseen situation. Similarly, you also have to look at your hydromechanical provisions, how the hydromechanical provisions are behaving, whether their condition is such that they will be able to take the additional loads or no, and what are their present characteristics. So those things are also coming in. You also have to look at how you are going to manage your spill channel back because of the additional spillway or additional flood value that you will be discharging out of the dam. And then finally, all these things will have to come together. And then you have to come to the final rehabilitation proposals. So as you can see, it's a very complex exercise. It is not something that can be taken very lightly, and you cannot do something which can be just kind of looked at in one visit, and then you sort of provide a kind of a prescription, and then you go ahead with it. In fact, this is one of the issue that I have also been part of the dam safety review panels in a number of states. And what I find is that the emphasis at the dam safety review panel level inspections is to get a final recommendation. Now, many a times your recommendations cannot be final, because the situations that are given to you are not complete. You do not have any idea of what is going to happen if a particular kind of a recommendation is made. So the one-shot approach that currently goes on, it has an issue, and that needs to be really understood, that the personnel who are in charge of review will have to undergo this kind of a iterative process, and you have to be told about what are the outcomes of these iterations, and then based on that the decision making can be supported. Otherwise, you give a prescription, later on somebody will comment why he gave that, why he did that, there was no need to do this or no need to do that. All kinds of wisdom will then generate in the hindsight, and that may affect the overall outcome. So this is a issue that needs to be really looked at from the preparedness from the dam owner's point of view, because the dam owners have to be ready for this kind of a process. And many of the times I am finding that the dam owners are not really ready for this kind of a process. They are interested in getting the things done, and maybe just having an inspection, go to a report writing process, and then start preparing estimate based on that report writing process. So this is something that we feel that we need to really look at very seriously. The another major aspect is the institutional framework required for dam safety assurance at various levels. Our institutional frameworks, especially in the context of our emphasis on dam building, we have had a very difficult time in setting up the institutions. The institutions are the ones which will eventually make the dam safety success. One issue that has come up is that in the process of our expansion of our networks, the personnel strength have suffered. There has been some kind of an vicious economic considerations why the personnel strength suffered, because we were not able to generate adequate inputs out of the revenue that is being provided out of these dams and these structures. And then in the process, since we forgone that revenue, we also started to forego the expenditure. And the situation now is that there are several hundred vacancies in every water resources department, or such is the kind of vacancies even in the at the central government level also, or even at the PSU level also. So institutions can be built, and institutions will require persons, and persons will have to be really managed and engaged. So the owner level framework will require a specific charge unit at the appropriate level, and without that, the dam safety really suffers. Most of the time, when the construction is going on, a particular type of personnel are there at the site. But then, when the construction is completed, a completely different set of personnel then start arriving and operating the dam at that location. Many of these operating personnel do not have a full-fledged understanding of the fundamental principles on which the dam has been designed. You don't have to be a designer, but then you also have to have your fundamentals right. Because if you do not have your fundamentals right, you may end up taking some decisions during your operation, which may be very, very dangerous or which may be very, very problematic. A second aspect is that how the dam is behaving, a continuous record is required. Now, many times in many of the small dams and all, you do not even have a flood record. You do not even have an idea that what was the highest flood that passed through this spillway, or what happened when it happened. So the behavior observation, either through the instruments, through a functional instrumentation, and also visually, and recording the phenomena in a quantitative term, are the surveillance parts, which are the part of the dam safety activities. And there the owner has the highest responsibility. If your records are pakka, if your records are good, many of the things can be provided. But if the records are not there, then everybody, including you, are groping in the dark. Another aspect that the owner, especially the owners who have got multiple number of dams under their portfolio, that they have to work out the analyze and quantification of the risk. All your dams that may be under your portfolio will have some problems or other. And those problems will eventually get translated into the investment decisions about how much cost you would like to pay for that particular kind of a work, and how much money you have, whether you can afford full money or you have partial. Generally, it is always partial. You cannot have such an ideal situation in which you can say that we will need this much and then you will actually get that much. So you have to analyze and quantify the risk to the dam. This is a slightly different discipline. In case of India, we haven't been able to do this quantification in a very systematic manner. We do have guidelines, but then many of the countries like say US or Canada or others, they have a very quantified guidelines, and because of these quantified guidelines, they are able to come up to some kind of numbers. It has got limitations, but still the kind of number game helps, and this we will have to develop over the period of time. Because when we will start looking at every dam as equal to another one, especially in the rehabilitation priorities, then it is not likely that the kind of investments that are required are going to be mobilized for you, and eventually nothing gets mobilized because you are not really sure that what you want to do first. So this risk analysis is a weak area of our country, and we need to, at the dam owners level, a good risk analysis capabilities needs to be developed. There has to be also a sharing of this. Then when we come to the state level responsibilities, then in the state level responsibilities, the state is responsible for all the disasters. After all, it is the sovereign entity which is required to provide all the necessary wherewithal for people to remain safe and also to perform their activities in a safe manner. So the state government needs to know what is happening at which dam. You have to maintain the liaison with all the dams located in its jurisdiction and keep a regularly updated database of their health and safety status. At any point of time, what is happening at a particular dam, or what is likely to happen at a particular dam, especially under adverse circumstances, a holistic idea is required to be available with the dam operators on a continuous basis. If we do not have that, then also the decisions may be suffering and there may be some kind of mishaps. For that, you also need to have necessary technical and administrative staff and officers with the required knowledge and skills. This capacity will keep on repeating at various levels. At the owner level, you will require the capacity. At the state level, you will require the capacity. At the federal level also, you will require the capacity, and still more. So the issue of capacity at this point of time in the dam safety management of the country is becoming quite acute. The personnel are required for implementing the inspection program. And then inspection program again is something that you have to put in people who are capable of observing, who have got that background in order to observe something. And for that, you need an experienced and you need a competent kind of a person, so that when the inspection reveals certain things, those revelations are made in a scientific manner. Those revelations are made in a rational manner, which can be then taken up for further work. And of course, the state has to ensure implementation of the Dam Safety Act by dam owners. But in this particular case, we are also having a certain amount of conflict of interest, because the sovereign entity is itself the owner of the dam in a very large part of the country. Almost we can say 90% of the country. So the conflict of interest will have to be managed within the government. The dam owners being the dam regulators, this issue we haven't really properly provided for. So this is an issue which we need to seriously look at. Then now let us see at the central level framework. The central level framework is something that we need to also look at, because we currently, I'll reshare this because somehow this has got frozen. Okay, now it has worked. Yeah. So we have the similar functions at the center level, like a state level. But then a very important part that we need to look at when we are developing the dam safety discipline at the central level is to develop and dissemination of standards and guidelines for ensuring technically competent procedures and solutions for ensuring the dam safety across the country. This is quite important, that the standards have to be developed. The standards development is again an issue which is a difficult issue, because you have to be very deeply aware of the field in which you are operating and you are going to recommend a standard. If a wrong standard is put in, and because of that, if any wrong decision gets generated, then the eventual legal responsibility may get transferred to the central level also, even though you may not be owning the dam. So it's a great responsibility, and a very it's a responsibility which cannot be really ignored. So development of the standards and guidelines is quite important. There are issues with which we haven't really tackled ourselves very well. Like, for example, one common issue that I keep on coming across is the issue of seismic stability of a dam. Now in our country, we have got large number of masonry dams, and those masonry dams, when subjected to earthquake, how they are going to behave, and how you are going to interpret those results into your conventional design practices is a very gray area. And at this point of time, what is happening is that some amount of ad hocism is prevailing in order to see that the work, I mean the safety evaluation somehow proceeds further. But then at the national level, you do not have a standard. This is a kind of an issue that we need to really look at. The other issue may be the dispute resolution between the state level authorities in relation to dam safety. Now, this is a very important duty that has been provided to the federal government in the Act, and the federal government has got a great responsibility on this, because the safety perceptions may differ from a person who is owning the dam and operating the dam and deriving benefits from the dam, and a person who may be only looking at the dam as a hazard, because they are not getting any direct benefits, so they only look at the dam as a hazard. So the dispute resolutions become very important. We are going to have dams in cascade. These cascades are stretching over the states, and wrong decisions at one location may affect the other locations in a bad manner. So the interstate aspects of the dam safety management are also quite important, and they will have to be willy-nilly, they will have to be resolved at the federal level, because you do not have a kind of a interstate mechanism where this can be resolved by two competing parties. So this is another part that we will need to look at. So when we look at all these issues, then we come to this particular area that we need to have capacity requirements at various levels, personnel as well as the knowledge capacities. We did discuss about the personnel capacities, but the knowledge capacities are also equally glaring. The aspect is that when you are designing a new dam, you have got good number of standards, and these standards are something that have been generally tested over a long period of time, because we have a very good dam building history, and we have got a good developmental back support. But then when it comes to a rehabilitation part, we haven't got that kind of a knowledge base and the capacities. Like very limited number of institutions may be there in the fields of, say, hydrology or engineering, seismology, concrete technology, geotechnical engineering, numerical modeling, and hydromechanical structures. Very often we find that certain even fundamentals are also not really properly known at the field level. So the capacities are required. The capacities also are required from the point of view of the fact that some kind of application of these technologies into the rehabilitation processes require a different kind of an approach. Now, just to give you an example, when you do a finite element analysis of a concrete gravity dam, how do you account for uplift? If you are not aware about the implications of this particular aspect, what will happen is that the stresses that you will get out of this particular analysis may be wrong. There are inappropriate methods of applying uplift, which can come from the conventional design practices, and there are appropriate methods which will require you to change your code or your simulation approach. If you are not aware, then you will come up with something, you will recommend something, and people will go ahead with it. Similar is the case in case of hydrology. the selection of a probable maximum storm is an exercise which requires a great amount of expertise and thinking. Likewise, in every area, there are issues which are requiring the capacities, not only at the grassroots level, but even at the advanced level also. So we have a huge area of the capacities that we need. Now, not all capacities can be built at every level, but then a pool of capacities will have to be built at the national level and also at the state level, so that some of the works can be carried out right at the state level and can be brought to a conclusion. And some of the works may be such complicated nature that they may require even a kind of a further higher level of capacities and capabilities. The problem is that when we started out in 1940s, and we had a very good dam building phase. At that point of time, sufficient number of people were being provided in order to deal with these topics. But then of late, especially in 90s, the dam building activity has come to a very saturation level, or come to a almost in some cases it landed up coming to a standstill because of various other extraneous factors. But then that has given you a very bad setback. A whole generation who was there, who had this kind of a new dam building experience, which they were able to translate into understanding the behavior and then providing the solutions. That whole generation is fading away, and at times it has faded away with the poor documentation. The experience of those generations have not been recorded. So we are at a juncture where we have to rebuild those capacities. And mind you, the dams are forever. The persons will come and go. After all, everybody has a finite lifetime. Everybody has a finite active life. And out of that active life, a very small portion can be really devoted to a particular dam. But that dam is going to require that particular thing every time. So making this expertise nurture and available at various stages of development is an issue that we need to look at and answer at the country level and also at the state level. Many of the states now, you do not have any new dams being coming up. And this is a situation since this 10, 15, 20 years. So the last persons who built this dam have retired. Many of them have left this world even, who used to advise you. So the continuation of the expertise and capacity building is a very important part. That is where also the role of experienced personnel will also come in. Whatever expertise that is available will have to be roped in and will have to be coordinated and brought in a consolidated form. And there has to be opportunity of those expertise to devolve their knowledge into the succeeding generation. It's very important. If you do not do this, then what may happen is that we should not land up in a situation where we have to reinvent the wheel. But we are also at this kind of a cusp. Many of the times I am finding during my association that the certain basic capabilities are also not readily available. So this is an issue that we need to work. There, the role of specialized organizations and entities are also very important, because the organizations will be the ones who will be able to nurture and develop this kind of expertise and this kind of capacities. So this is an important part. Consolidation of the knowledge will also basically result in the development of guidelines. And this development requires a consolidation of the past experience. You have to not only look at the personnel who are available to you in the office, but you also have to look at the personnel who are not available to you readily in the office, but then they have been performing this kind of work earlier and they have been observing their fruits of their activities, so that the guidelines are able to provide for such facilities and provide for such eventualities. Good number of manuals have come up. Some of the manuals are really quite good. They have provided with a very great amount of knowledge and information. But still, we have to look at the kind of guidelines that are available or that are generated at the international level. How these guidelines are generated. Because one thing is there, when you look at the international experience, the problem is that the India has got a different kind of a agroclimatic and geological context than a country which may be more advanced, but having a different kind of a context. So it is not actually even possible to completely translate that guideline or that into your own day-to-day guideline for the country. So a very comprehensive study and a very sustained effort is needed. Here, the issue of promoting the academic institutions into continually working on this kind of aspects also become very, very important. Because if there is a continuity that has to be maintained, and simultaneously a quest for the new knowledge is required, then this is also a very important aspect that we need to really work. So that's what I skipped this a little ahead. But then this is the fact that the continuity is a very important aspect in all water resources activity, and quite so in case of the dam safety. Even in water resources activities, you realize that many times the decisions that were taken 70 years before today, 80 years before today, 100 years before today, are required to be re-evaluated today in a different context. And then you have to know that why the decision was taken at that time in a particular manner. Otherwise, you are not able to really appreciate the decision, or you are not able to really understand the implications of changing the decision. So here the continuity is a very, very important aspect. Now, this is as far as the policy and planning is concerned. But then the continuity is also important at the dam operators level. The dam operators level, there are issues like floods. Now, you have a situation where you are posted on the dam, and you may spend your 5 years there, you may spend your 10 years there, and not a single flood passes. So you become kind of complacent. But then one fine day, suddenly you find that you are facing with a probable maximum level of flood. What will you do? For that, the extreme event handling capacity has to be available for all the people who are on the spot. Now, this is also done only through the continuity. The recording of the experiences, what was done when a particular type of a flood occurred, what was done when a particular type of phenomena occurred, in quantifiable terms, not in verbal terms. So their thing is very, very important, that the continuation is required. Continuation doesn't simply mean the documentation, but even the operational exercises, so that the standard operating procedures are ingrained into anybody who is sitting at that point of time, because we do not know when an extreme event will occur. And when that will occur, it is not going to give you adequate time in order to develop that capacity and then tackle that particular urgency. You will have to do it then and there. So the continuity of the operating personnel is also necessary. But in the today's world, and as in case of everything, the change is constant. So there will be a change of personnel. But then how do you manage that change? That is where your continuity management will come in. This is also requiring the other aspect, preparedness part, is that this requires a kind of a understanding in the administrators and financier, financing and political kind of areas. Ultimately, everything will, it's all about money. So the purse strings of the overall things are going to be controlled at some level. And there the peculiar requirements will have to be understood by them. If you are not able to make them understand that requirement, then you may not get those resources which you are really asking for. And if you will not get the resources, you will not be able to perform your work. It will lead to some kind of a problem. And later on, there will be a sort of a, blame game. So making your needs understood also requires certain amount of capacity in the person, especially in terms of fundamentals, especially in terms of providing and supplementing the particular proposal with a supporting evidence, or with a supporting kind of argument, so that the other person who is sitting on the other side of the table is capable of providing you with those things. It is not easy. It's quite difficult, because anybody who is in the control of purse strings will have many competing demands, and then you will have to extract the money or the funds or the resources from the person for your purpose. So this is a very important capacity that we need to look at. And then we also need to look at the implementation of the measures. There are various processes that you will end up in conflict with. Like many times, the products that are available for certain type of rehabilitation are such products which have been developed for a very, very specific purpose. And the market for those products is also very, very limited. In such a situation, the normal rules of fair market competition, which are also part of your procurement processes, also will have to be tweaked in a particular manner, in a certain manner, in a certain way. So those things are also something that you have to really struggle with. And those areas require the skills in order to see that what you get what you want, and you don't get landed up with something which you never needed. And that is where we need to be continually upgraded. We need to know innovation is happening in the world at every point of time. The innovation that is happening in different fields, unrelated fields, may have an implication on your field. And for that, this of cross-disciplinary understanding also is required in at least in a limited number of persons, so that the benefits can be brought to the dam safety field. Many of the things are unrelated. At times they are not directly related. So that's an important thing. And then the whole country will have to work in unison in order to carry out the dam safety assurance works, and that will have to be taken up as a part of the overall nation building program. Nation building doesn't simply mean building, that will also require you to maintain that particular building. That's an area which is not yet fully understood at in many locations. We are so much gung ho about building and putting in new things, and we are not very careful about what we are doing with those things in the long run. So these are the recommendations that we will with the owners should be really very carefully looking at. And with those recommendations, we will need to see that the factors that we discussed in the previous slides, how those factors will have to be brought in order to see that these recommendations, which are already there, they are implemented in its true light and spirit. So in a nutshell, this is the overall situation in which we will have to implement the dam safety assurance, and there is a lot of work and effort is required, and we need to really work very hard in order to achieve the ultimate goal of water security, because dam safety is not something so small. Dam safety is the direct implication to the water security. So thank you very much for giving the opportunity for discussing with you, and I will be very happy if you would like to pose any questions. So there have been, of course, number of requests for the PPT. I have already supplied the PDF of the PPT to Mr. Pandey, so he will be able to give you a copy. And if there are any questions, we can take them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Yeah, if I see, I think.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
there are so many very good. I know
You have an echo, so
yeah.
if you are on multiple systems, at least mute some of the system and go ahead.
So,
Sir, shall we include categorization of workers like Class A and Class D dam site, which is will be mandatory, and we have to improve the number of laborers in dam site. That should also be mandatory, so that monitoring all the components of dams will be possible. So this
Yes, I agree.
this have to be added in
There are
section
requirements at every level, and that is where it comes to. That when I talked about your needs being translated or your needs being explained to the people who are in the policy making area, that is where this particular issue will have to be addressed. I think Ajay Pradhan had written, since water is under concurrent list and therefore storage scheme comes automatically in the same clause. In the absence of river tribunal, river board in the transboundary states, in such states, federal government ruling will prevail. What does the act says? Actually, the tribunals are not the ones who are the appropriate mechanism for the dam safety. Tribunals are basically, the Interstate Water Disputes Act is primarily oriented towards the settling the disputes for water sharing. But then this issue doesn't really come directly under the Interstate Water Disputes Act, and the Dam Safety Act does provide for an adjudication mechanism where the NCDS and the decisions can be there. So NCDS does remain an NDSA. That is why the National Dam Safety Authority has got established, so that it is able to proclaim certain things. The other question is, if the state is not able to sponsor for capacity building in MTech program, could any interested officer be funded by CWC or MOJS? GUI per set program. Well, this is not really this is a part of the implementation, area, and how to really do this is something that this state governments or the central government will have to decide, and then maybe not everything will go through an MTech program. There are multiple pathways, so each of the pathway will have to be provided with some resources. So any other questions apart from the requests of PPT?
Sir, I wanted to share something.
Yeah.
In fact, I wanted to explain this to Mr. Vijay Saran in the first session only, but couldn't.
You can identify yourself so that the recording will have the reference.
Sir, I'm A.K. Thakur, EM Narmada Control Authority. Sir, in this act, we have already included right from the initial filling of the reservoir and up to the level of the dam, we have checked. We have a institutional mechanism to check that. But the part which we are lacking that during construction of the dam, we don't have any check on the construction methodology as well as sir, you have mentioned that construction planning. So this is a very vital which we need to address because it will definitely have some impact on the life of the dam as well as the stability of the dam and safety of the dam at the last. Because when we construct the dam blocks in the banks and we leave the level of the dam blocks in the mid of the blocks at higher level, certainly the flood water will pass through the sites and it will do some scoring of the banks, which we have also faced in the case of Baglihar project when we got that diversion tunnel choked. And so much money and time and everything we have to spend on that. And further, due to the loose strata of our Himalayan area, we don't have proper anchoring in the banks of the dam. So if scoring is done in the banks, so it will also affect our dam stability. So these things need to be taken care. And I think this aspect, that construction methodology and construction planning must be taken in under the domain of the Dam Safety Act, because we have already opened the door for Northeast having the maximum potential of hydro projects and large dams up to the capacity of 3,000, more than 3,000 megawatt we are going to take up. So this aspect must be addressed by Central Water Commission and Ministry of Jal Shakti. This is my suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. And well, actually, the climate, this one from Debashri. This is like, can we request you to reflect on our preparedness with respect to climate change linked extreme events and implications for dam safety? Basically, we try to generate the operating parameters as an envelope, and for that, the long-term climatic effects can always be coupled while we design our standards, so that that is brought in. Climate change has got two different aspects. One, of course, is the extreme events, and then the other aspect is the extreme shortages and how to balance them out. But then that's a area which still requires more work. So this is also same thing which Mr. Ram Singh Rajput said, that dams were designed as per the old seismic zone-based criteria of classifications, and now we will have to develop the new standards, wherein we are able to integrate those dams into the safety criteria. And this is, as I said, this is a kind of a blank area. We haven't really delved too much onto this. So I think.
Sir, can you hear me, sir? Can we ask question of to the climate change?
You see, the thing is that I mean, of course, the climate change will have an impact on the dam safety, but then that particular effect of the climate change will have to be integrated into the design standards.
It's true, sir. Actually, there is a follow-up to that question about technological capacities and governance mechanisms. Below that, say how is the NDSA and NCD is considering this challenge in terms of providing support to the dam owners?
Well, NDSA can always come up with the guidelines. I mean, the NDSA can also act as a kind of a consulting forum where these kind of issues can be posed and the wider level informed discussions can take place for evolving the solutions.
So at the moment, there are no plans that you are familiar with. Is it not, sir? There is someone from NDSA.
Vijay Saran will be able to provide that information in a better manner because that he is the person in charge of this activity.
Thank you, sir.
So I think this is generally we had good response, and once again I thank you all for raising these questions. And if you have any detailed discussion you would like to take, you can always mail me, and then I will try to discuss or answer.
Sir, thank you for sparing your valuable time, and I know you have to catch a flight also. So thanks a lot, sir, for coming in the occasion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other queries, Vijay sir can take up. We have forwarded through WhatsApp.
Okay, so
Chat also.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So I have received the list of queries, and first I will try to address them. And then in case there are any more, then we will take up one by one. So very briefly, our general query was that whether the presentation could be shared or not. So I will request Mr. Pandya to share the presentation with the participants. So it can be provided on the website or it can be sent through email. And some participants have requested for the video because probably due to the net connectivity, somebody missed out on some parts. So they want a video that can also be shared through mail or this thing. And to begin to your queries, the first I will say that there was a slight editorial mistake in slide number 19 of my presentation, where we are talking about the Constitution of State Committee on Dam Safety. Basically, it talks about representation from upstream state as well as representation from downstream state. So for upstream state, it is if the reservoir extends to the upstream state. For the downstream state, if there is any dam whose flood release is going to affect the neighboring downstream state, only in that case. So normally the rivers will flow into the downstream state. So it was not reservoir extending, it was an editorial mistake somebody pointed out. So at the outset, I want to clarify that was an editorial mistake, and we will share the amend the line. It is actually, you should refer to section 11 part D. Section 11 part D, which says that the chief engineer or equivalent level officers of such downstream state in case where flood release of any specified dam of the state flows to the neighboring state. That actually is the provision. By typographical mirror, it was written that if in case the reservoir extends to downstream state, that was a wrong thing. Then coming to your queries, one query was by Dr. Ajay Pradhan. He was talking about that number of the chief engineers for small states. So in this regard, I would like to clarify that the Act, as per the provision of Act, the number is maximum number of chief engineers is 6. So there is no criteria that you must have 6 chief engineers. Depending on the need of the state, 3 chief engineers may be sufficient, 2 may be different, but it should not be more than 6. It was not limiting that you have to have 6 chief engineers. That point was to be clarified. One point is, of course, One point is somebody is asking about the height of the specified dam. So yeah, I will like to clarify it. We have to consider it from the general foundation. So it is not from the shear key to the top. Somebody was asking about, and NDSA in fact has provided a clarification also to all the state WRDs and all dam owning agencies. And I will share that clarification of NDSA with NWA and I will request Mr. Pandey to share that clarification. But here I can tell you that shear keys and downstream cutoffs are not counted for measuring the height of the dam. It is the general foundation level. And with figures, etc., we have clarified. I will share that clarification of NDSA with Mr. Pandey, and so that he can pass on to those needing clarification on the height of the dam. Then there was a query about the dam safety unit. So normally, see, there is no fixed criteria on the number of the dam. It depends on the type of the dam. If the dam is major dam or this thing. So, and the dam safety unit is to be constituted only from amongst the O&M staff deputed for the dam. So whatever is the O&M staff deputed for the dam, so maybe that depending on the its height and importance, the dam may be headed by an executive engineer, or it may be headed by a superintending engineer, or it may be headed by a chief engineer, depending on the case. So whoever forms a part of the O&M establishment of that dam, from that only we will select. So the Act does not mandate the number. So it depends on the wisdom of the state committee, and in case any clarification on is required. So far we have not received any query in this regard. Another query raised was about the MTech students. A number of students have raised it. So presently, yeah, there somebody was asking whether PhD are also sponsored. So presently, this sponsoring is for the candidates of DRIP implementing agencies, which is being sponsored under DRIP program. The other way to get to MTech into dam safety is through the gate. So anybody, not necessarily to be a sponsored candidate, anybody who is willing to qualify the gate, that he will be governed, he will get admission in IIT Roorkee. It is on, I think, and IIC Bangalore also takes MTech students through gate also. So presently we do not have any scheme for sponsoring other candidates, but if there is a need, then NDSA can take a call and make a ruling in this regard. But as of now, the DRIP will sponsor from DRIP implementing agencies, and for other general candidates, you have the option of the dam, of gate, qualifying through gate. And another query was, can the 3 categories be increased to 5? So this is a matter of regulation. So it can be considered as of now, as per the guidelines laid by CWC. There are 3 guidelines, but of course there is always a scope to increase and review and to make it more this thing. So we only wanted to flag the important thing, because there are 7,000 dams, around 7,000 specified dams in the country. So then it will be those needing immediate attention, very serious in nature, category 1, those which need to be taken up within a year, category 2, and those for which routine maintenance, etc., can be enough, is 3. So this is the present, but we can think of modifying. Is there any question which still I have remained unanswered? May please raise either in the chat box or through the talk.
There is a query. Does dam safety norms apply to the barrages constructed across?
Yes.
Not what is the future actions on this direction?
No. The Dam Safety Act does not differentiate between barrage and dam. All barrages also, they should meet the criteria. These criteria of the height and the 5 criteria, we do not make a difference. Barrages can also be, in fact, KTVRs are also part of this thing. The only criteria is that its height from the deepest foundation to the top should be more than 15 meters. In case if it is between 10 to 15 meters, then it should meet one of the 5 criteria, which I already, it is there in my presentation. You can refer to either the spillway crest should be 500 meters or more, or the flood discharge should be 2,000 cumecs or more, or the storage capacity should be 1 MCM or more. If a barrage qualifies, the barrage will also be under specified dam. It is under specified dam. Is there anything which I missed out?
Another query was what would be the range of natural frequency of masonry dam?
What is the?
What would be the range of natural frequency of masonry dam? Not very clear question.
No, I think it's better to get this query and we will respond in an email. So it cannot give a abstract answer. So it depends on the type of the dam, and we have to work out. This is for a specific dam. We have to work out the frequencies. I think he's talking about resonance studies. So please get his query clear. We will respond to it from CWC. Any other?
The rest of the queries, sir, we can respond in through email.
Okay, Mr. Pandya, I would request you that many people are requesting for Mr. Pandya and my presentation to please share it either through your website or through through their emails. And some I have also received request in my chat box and this thing of the sharing the video clipping. Maybe some people the audio was not clear because of the connectivity problem at their end or maybe from our end. In case anyone wants any recording, etc., so please share this thing. And these presentations, all the presentations should be put up on the NWA website so that it is open for access to everybody.
We will do, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir. We will do.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Feedback.
Yes.
Sir, apart from the MTech programs, do PhD programs also carried out under capacity building for that?
As of now, in the this capacity building program, only MTech students are being this thing. PhD is we are not sponsoring under DRIP also, but if the need will be there and there will be many PhD students, because PhD is one payment basis, there will be not much a problem. And for the sponsored candidate, they have to be on study leave. And for otherwise, because when you are, if you are taking up a PhD course, it will the whatever sponsorship you are getting, whatever the money the institute is paying, that will be enough to take care of the PhD. Not as of now, there is no provision of funding the PhD students. But if there is a need and there is a request from the state governments, etc., we can consider.
Thank you, sir.
We have shared a feedback form. All esteemed guests are requested to fill the form for value addition. And thank you, sir, Vijay sir. And tomorrow we have scheduled 2 sessions beginning at 10:30 a.m. One is by Shri Chandrasekhar Iyer sir, former chairman Central Water Commission, on duties, responsibilities, and functions of dam owning authorities under the Act. And another session by Dr. B.R.K. Pillai, Chief Engineer, Human Resources Management, CWC, on journey of legal and institutional framework for dam safety in India and way forward. So it is a very important session for us. I hope all participants, we had tremendous response today. And tomorrow also, we would like to see you all. And I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to Chairman Sir, Shri Kushvinder Vohra Sir, Shri Vijay Saran Sir, Shri Pandya Sir, former Chairman CWC, Shri T.S. Chaskar Sir, Chief Engineer and Head of National Water Academy, and all other esteemed guests present. Sir, would you like to add some? Chief Engineer.
Yeah, before we close, I must thank all the dignitaries who were present today. And there was a great response for this webinar. And as I could see, more than 500 people participated in today's webinar. And the question answer session were also very great. Please give your feedback. We are just now again sharing the link on the chat box. You will see the link in the chat box. Please click on the link and give your feedback so that we can take into account your feedback for tomorrow's session, and tomorrow's session we can have better than today's session. So we have completed today's proceeding. I would request all of you to join tomorrow again, because tomorrow we have 2 very pertinent and very informative sessions scheduled. Both the faculty that is going to deliver the tomorrow's sessions have an extensive and comprehensive experience in the field, and we would request all of you to join tomorrow. So thank you very much. You can see the link there. Please click on the link. There is a very short feedback form. Only 4-5 questions are there. Please give your feedback about this webinar. Thank you so much. We'll be closing it now. So I request Pandya to take over and close today's session.
Thank you, sir. We will keep it live for some time so that they can provide the feedback. And thank you all and have a good day. And we will meet tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. sharp. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.